Hi, this is Kate from Izzalicious Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to do the Union Jack as an extended move it forward technique mural of mine. People have been asking me to do more, so I'm going to show you how to do one that's a little bit larger than just the one we made the little basket out of. So as you can see, I've taken this off braceletbook.com, and this one is using 18 strings, which basically means that it's using 18 little squares across and 18 little squares down. I've marked those off myself, and I'm going to be using a pencil to tick off as I do each of the columns so that we don't get confused and do something twice or whatever. You're going to be needing your Rainbow Loom hook because we are going to be moving things forward, as I mentioned. It's going to take about 306 white bands, about 96 blue bands, and about 248 red bands, just so that you are in the loop with what's going on. And I'm obviously going to be using red, white and blue. You're going to be using 2 looms, and we're going to have them, get rid of the cat hair, pop that middle column out, okay, and make it so that we are in the standard configuration. All of the columns are going to be the same height. Now we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to take the big base plate out like that, and take this bottom little one off as well. The bottom little one is going to go sort of in the middle. So you've got 2 little ones at the top, and then you're going to put a big base plate at the bottom here, like that, okay, and then you're going to take the, and you're going to make sure that the pegs are all going the same way. So for this one we're going to take this bit off here, and we're going to take the big base plate off as well. We're going to put the smaller base plate in the middle, so you've got 2 base plates at the end here. Put the big base plate over there somewhere, turn this one over, and we're going to line it up and pop that in the middle. So if you have a look at the top where the arrow is facing towards us, all the pegs are facing towards us, open part. We've got 2 small base plates. The big base plate is joining the 2 looms together, and then we have 2 smaller base plates. You're going to leave the second big base plate out for the moment. As we move things forward, it will then come into play for column 4, 5 and 6. Okay, I'm going to put my map, my pattern, where I can see it clearly, and I have a pencil so that I can help tick things off. I'm actually going to fold it in half so that it's not taking up as much room on my desk, so that I'm not compromised for space. I'm also going to use a ruler. I have a ruler here with sort of like a cork backing to it, and I'm going to place that here like that so that I also know what column I'm on. As I move forward with my columns, I will move my ruler back a bit. Okay, so if you have a look at our pattern, the first thing you see is 18 white. There's no colour there at all. So I'm going to start at the top here, and we're going to be double banding. Everything around the base of this pattern is white, so I'm going to start by putting 2 white here to do absolutely nothing until column 4 arrives. 2 white, and I'm going to place from column 3 to column 2, from column 2 to column 1, okay? And then I'm going to do 18 pair down. So that's my first one, 2. If it gets twisted, you can always use your hook to just swirl it around the inside of your bands, and that will untangle things. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My apologies for the Mario music in the background and the coughs. My little one is sick again. So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we need 8 more pair. There's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18. Now our next, if you have a look, if we move our ruler across, so we're on column number 2, we start with a white at the top here. So I'm going to put a pair of white, and then we have 2 pair of red, and then we have another pair of white, and 3 pair of blue, and then we have a pair of white, 2 pair of red. It's like following a little map, isn't it? Your pattern. A pair of white, 3 pair of blue, pair of white, 2 pair of red, and a pair of white. Now I'm going to lay for column 3 as well, so I'm going to budge my ruler across, and again we're going to start with a pair of white, 3 pair of red, a pair of white, 2 pair of blue, a pair of white, 2 pair of red, oops, this is dropping them, a pair of white, 2 pair of blue, pair of white, 3 red, and finish on a pair of white. Now for the end here to look nice, we are going to need some white bands. So what we're going to do is place a pair of white on top of these end ones, take another pair of white and go from the second to the third column like that. We can let those go. Then we're going to go from the first to the second column like that, and we're also going to put an end cap on this first one here. So take a single band, wrap it once and twice and slide the end cap on here. Now the other thing that we're going to need are some clear bands to act as crossover bands, and they go between 5 and 6 pegs at any given time. You don't want to overstretch them. If you overstretch them, things will go all squidgy and it'll look completely misshapen. If you overstretch them, they could snap and then your whole mural will come apart. So let me grab some clear bands, and we're going to use a single clear band to go to the top here, and you're going to go from column 1 to column 3. You skip this first row here and start here on the second one, and we're going to put a clear band, a single clear band stretched across all 3 pegs. And we will need probably, I think, about 4 of these for the entire thing. And when I say 4, I mean 4 sets. This is our first set. Okay, we're going to dig down past this end cap with your hook. Can you see what I'm doing? And we're going to grab this top pair of white bands and loop them to the right. And we'll do the same with the next ones here for the next column. Loop them to the right, like that. Now we can loop up these 2 first columns, first column and second. Okay, where you have a crossover band, push it back with the back of your hook so that you're just exposing those 2 bottom bands. Take care as you're in this middle area where our 2 looms join. Now loop up that second one, then go to the first, dig down, grab those 2 bands and loop across. We're ready to take the first column off our loom. Please, when you do it, hold things in this first column. You do not, I'm sorry, the second column, the middle one. You don't want to end up with everything that you've just worked for flying off that second column. Okay, so just gently ease everything off, but make sure keep things in place with your fingers. Gently ease things off like that and keep everything pushed down. Now we're going to turn our loom over. Grab your base removal tool. I'm going to move my pattern out the way so that I don't miss anything. We're going to take the first set here of base plate off, and you're going to move it forward. You're going to do the same to the second one. Move it forward. Skip the big base plate. We're moving down now to the third small one and the fourth small one. We're going to take these columns off and make sure that they stay in line at the same height. Okay, you can tell that they're in line if they match up. Move this one across as well. Again, it's got to be in line, and this is where we can turn this over and put our next big base plate on, like that. Now we're going to do the rows, the bands for column number 4. So using your pattern, and I will make this pattern available for you guys to the link, so you guys can easily download it yourselves. So we're going to start. Let me put those clear bands out the way somewhere. I'm lacking room on my desk. So we're going to start by the 2 bands that we had doing nothing need to move over here, but before we do that we need to put another 2 so that they can go over to the next column when we move that across. Next we're going to take 2 white and they go there, and another 2 white, and then we're going to have 3 pair of red, a pair of white, a pair of blue, a pair of white. I'm going to just untwist this. 2 pair of red, a pair of white, a pair of blue, pair of white, 3 pair of red, and oopsie, 2 pair of white. Again, we're going to take a pair of white and put them on here, and then using your hook grab those 2 white that were doing nothing and move those across like that. We're going to loop over, drag over our crossover bands to incorporate this new column. And then let's dig down and find the top 2 white bands which get looped across to the right. Okay, dig down, find the 2 white bands, and we just loop up. You can hear my poor little monster in the background. Loop this one up, dig down, you're going to find the bottom 2 white bands, but you've got to go through all those other ones first. It's a bit tricky for me because I'm trying to do it so you can see it, but it makes it so I can't see it. Grab those 2 and loop them across to the side. If it's tight, wiggle your hook around the outside of the bands push everything down. You don't want anything falling off at this stage. We're at early stages. Because we've looped this one across, it's safe for us to take this off the loom. Please be careful of the middle column. As you can see, I keep my fingers there. I do not want that to go off. Okay, so that one has come off nicely. We're going to take our loom, turn it upside down, and we're going to move the little base plates again. Lift it up, move it across, lift up, move across, the same on the bottom, lift it up, move across, lift up, and move across. Keep making sure that you push things down so that they're firm and secure. Take this first column and move it forward. Make sure that it's in line with the other one in front of it, and then do the same with this one here. And we move that one. Now we can do column number 5. Now bear in mind there's 18 columns that we need to do. So column number 5, you're going to start with 2, place them here doing nothing, and move these 2 across. Untwist them by twirling your hook around. So we start with a pair, and then we start with 2 blue, a pair of white, 3 pair of red, 2 pair of white, then I'm on to 2 red, 2 more white, 3 red, 1 pair of white, 1 pair of blue, and a pair of white. Again, you're going to take a pair of white, hold them on this peg here, lift these ones up and place them over like that. Okay, let's dig down and find the top 2 white bands, and they get looped to the right. Then we can pull our crossover bands. Now this is column number 5. So for the next column, number 6, we're going to introduce a new set of crossover bands. We don't want them to be stretched further than 5. Okay. Okay, all the way down to the bottom. Let me just move some of these bands so that I'm not making a huge mess. Dig down, find the 2 white bands and loop up, loop up, loop up. when we get here, we loop this one up, then we dig down, find those bottom 2 white bands, and we're going to loop those to the side, and then we can take this column, this first column, off. Do a big cough, my darling. Good girl. Feel better? Okay. Push these all down so we don't lose them when we take this column off. Alright, turn your base plate, your loom over, and we move the next base plates. Move them across, move across, leave the big one for the minute, we're just doing the little ones. And you can see that one just comes away in my hand. Take these off. Make sure they're all lined up. Now the big base plate, the second one, is just going to sit there until we get to the next column, just like we did when we first started. So what we're going to do, start with laying our 2 white ones here, and grab the 2 white ones that we're doing nothing, and drag them across. Okay, like that. Let's do column number 6. I swear I'm not a heathen. I do know the difference between. I'm just being a bit silly. So the first one is a white, pair of white, and we do 2 blue, another pair of white, 3 pair of red, pair of white, 2 pair of red, three pair of red, pair of white, 2 pair of blue, pair of white. Then again you're going to take a pair of white, pop them on this peg here, drag these 2 white over and across like that. Now at this stage I mentioned that we're going to put a new set of crossover bands on. Take a single clear band and stretch it from the middle peg to the right side peg. move back down to the bottom, dig down past all of those bands and find the 2 top white and loop them to the right. Dig down and find the bottom 2 white and they get looped up. You're going to have double crossover bands here, so you need to push them back with the back of your hook so that you're just looping up the coloured bands. Again, dig down, grab that and loop it to the right, and we're able to take this one off. Okay, turn your loom upside down, base removal tool, take that first one, budge it across, take the second one, budge it across, move down to the third mini one and the fourth, and budge them all across. Take your pegs, they get moved, and then you take your big base plate and that goes on there too. Okay, now we're going to lay our bands for column number 7. So we're going to again start with a pair of white that we're going to put on the end here. So let's grab these 2 that were doing nothing. They're going to do something. We're going to put 2 more to do nothing and put those ones on here. Okay, so these ones are ready for column number 8. Grab 2 bands and they go to start here, and then we've got some blue bands. We need 3 pair. So first pair, second pair, third pair, pair of white. You can have 2 pair of red, pair of white, 2 pair of red, pair of white, 2 pair of red, pair of white, pair of white, and 3 pair of blue. And then a pair of white, and we're going to put 1 more pair of white and grab those 2 that are doing nothing. So the pair of white sits there, and then we put those there. Drag your crossover bands over, that, and then we're going to dig down, find the 2 top white bands, loop them to the side, 2 bottom, and we loop up. That one, and then dig down, find those 2 bottom ones and loop them to the side. We're ready to take this off our loom. And please make sure you have these all pushed down. Okay, turn our loom upside down and we budge things forward again. We're just going to keep doing this until we get to the end of the pattern. Turn over, grab that first column of pegs, move it forward, and make sure it's in line with the one in front of it. And this does put quite a bit of pressure on the loom itself. I mean, you know, you've got quite a lot of bands pulling at things, so you do have to keep a strong, firm hold onto it so that things don't go all over the place. Now, let's take 2 white bands. We're going to dig down here and find those 2 that were doing nothing. There's one. Come on, where's the other one? There we go. So I'm going to put my new ones on here for the next column and put those 2 on here, like that. Now this column 8 is just a whole bunch of whites, except in the middle we've got 2 reds. So 1 till row 9. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 8. Now, what I want to do is make sure that I have exactly, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then on my pattern, I'll bring that across for you to see as well. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need 8 pair. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then 2 pair of red. So they're going to be in line with these 2 here. And then white to the bottom. I'll move that back so I'm not messing it up. Take two for the next column, grab those two that are sitting there doing nothing, place the two here and put those over. We're going to drag the crossovers over, and then we're going to loop up this middle column. Dig down, find the two bottom bands, loop across, and then we loop up. Please remember to put some pressure on the middle of your loom to keep it all together. Find those two bottom bands and loop them across. This is the most sensitive time when you're taking things off the loom, that you have to be very mindful of this column in front. Turn your loom upside down. Let's be careful here. Okay, let's do this middle one first. Take that out and really push down with your left hand. Move that across so that it's secure. Take this middle, this top one out and move that forward. Middle one. You're pushing down here, you're keeping this secure. Push those down, and now the bottom one, push it down. This is going to all come away. Turn your loom over, line this one up with the bottom, line this one up with the top, push everything down. That base plate waits until we're ready for it. Take your next two bands, they're going to sit on this peg, and the two that were doing nothing finally start doing something and get popped onto that third column, and this sits here for the next column. Now let's see from our pattern what we have to do. We've done column number 8, we're doing one white and then the whole lot red and one white. So a pair white, everything else is going to be red until we get to the bottom. When you're looking on braceletbook.com, you can put how many strings you want to look for. So this would be, because I have 2 looms, it would be a 24 string. If I was using 1 loom, it's a 12 string. So they're calling the pegs the strings. I guess it's for when they're doing different types of looming with different types of devices, but we're looking for a 12, a 2 to 12 for a single loom, and a 2 to 24 with 2 looms. Obviously as you go up you add another 12. So that's my last pair of red. I'm going to do a pair of white, then I'm going to take 2 white here, take the 2 white that are doing nothing, place those 2 on the hook, on the peg, and then move these 2 on over here. We're going to loop those 2 first, dig down, find the 2 top and loop across like that. That locks these into place. Let's drag these crossover bands over. And now we can dig down and loop up this centre column. Big cough. Big cough. Good girl. Loop this one up and then dig down and find those bottom 2 and loop across. Now the only reason I'm doing this entire one in real time with you guys is to give you an idea of how to do it on the extended loom. You guys can find your own patterns now that you have this technique, and you can find your own patterns and make basically anything you want. So please, you know, I know I get lots of requests asking me to do this, that and the other, but if you find the picture, you can do it. Okay, so we're going to turn our loom over. Let's budge our little base plates across again. Now, that might happen to you. It's annoying. Push the middle one back in. It's because I wasn't holding on to this. But all is not lost. We've pushed everything down on our base plates nicely. Everything is fine. You can now just shift your columns across. But that is a prime example of why you need to hold on to the centre of this. Okay, so we did 9, we're now on number 10, which is exactly the same as number 9. Take 2 white bands, find those 2 white bands that were sitting around doing nothing. There we go. Put those 2 on here, drag these ones across like that. We've got a pair of white, and then everything else is red all the way to the bottom again. I believe that on braceletbook.com you can actually make your own patterns from your own pictures as well. If you sign in, if you make an account with them and sign in, you get the ability to do that. So you can do it from pictures, or you can make your own, you know, letters and stuff like that. It's definitely worth having a look at. The bigger your mural, you know, the better your definition. So if you're looking for something that's got a lot of definition, it's going to be a very big mural. Two bands, two white. We finish off with white there. So take these next two white, place on, and drag these two white across. Now I'm going to use a new set of crossover bands, because this is column number 10. So again, you take your clear band, a single one, and stretch it from the middle row to the right row. So continue with your single clear bands, placing these as new crossovers. And you do not do this top one here. Down to the bottom, and let's do those two top white bands and loop them, oops, to the side. You've got two sets of crossover bands here now, so push them back with the back of your hook and loop everything up. Remember to hold it securely in place in the middle. You don't want the loom separating in the middle. If it's too tight, and it is for me around here, twirl your hook around the outside. Okay, push everything down. Using your hook, help get this off the loom. Like so. Turn the loom upside down and move these. Make sure you don't press too hard so that you're not going to lose and split these in half. You don't want that, so keep a firm grip. in the middle here so it doesn't separate. Turn them back. Now at this stage we take, and please be careful, can you see how it's bowing up? It wants to come off, but we're not letting it. Line it up. Your next base plate is going to be here. Just make sure everything is lined up. I can't see for looking. There we go. And keep everything pushed down. And it is tricky. You need to be, you know, quite firm about it. Number 11 is whites. Lots of whites. So take your first 2 whites, they're placed here on this peg doing nothing, and grab those 2 that were doing nothing. There they are. Place those over that. Now if you remember, we're doing all whites down to 9 pairs. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not 9. 8. Gosh, nearly sent you on a bum steer there. 2 reds. And then whites all the way to the bottom. Two white bands. Grab these 2 that are doing nothing. If you can, place those 2 on there first, then put those on top. You're going to be dragging the crossover bands over. Then we dig down here and grab those 2 top white ones and loop to the right. Then the next 2, the bottom 2, we loop these up for the centre. You can see these bands are, these pegs are wobbling. See how that's wobbling? Keep it in place. Make sure that it's secured by your hand. Take this column off. Make sure everything is pushed down. is the most vulnerable bit, is in the middle where the two looms join. Okay, you can always make sure by flipping it forward that that's all off. It is. So take these columns, and again please be really careful when you do it, and we're moving them forward. Now, I've done it the opposite way. I should have probably moved the small base plates first, but I did it this way instead. Turn your loom over, and let's again hold here. Alright, do the top one first, push that in, then the middle one, push that in, move down here, and do the bottom one first, so that it's all lined up, and then this one. Again, that big base plate stays off until we're ready for it. You can see that it's starting to form, the shape is starting to form here. So we did 11, we're now on 12. So get 2 white ready. Get those 2 white that are sitting down here on your hook so that you're ready for them. Place 2 here and move those 2 across. And this time we're starting with 2 white, and then it's 3 pair of blue, a pair of white, two pair of red, a pair of white, two pair of red, a pair of white, two pair of red, one pair of white, 3 pair of blue, and a pair of white. Two more white to go to the next side. Oops. So place those on that peg, and then take the 2 that are on this peg and move them across. Move your crossover peg, your crossover bands over to the next peg. And now we loop up, dig down, find those 2 top white bands, move them across. Please hold the loom in the middle so that you offer it a bit of support. Remember to push behind those crossover bands. Dig down, find those 2 bottom ones. Oh my goodness gracious, there we go. and loop to the side. Make sure everything is pushed down. This yellow hook is a Clover Soft Touch. It's a G, a 4mm. I got it at my local craft store. Absolutely love it. Okay, that's all off those pegs. I'm still going to push everything down one more time. Turn my loom over and do my base plates again. And these get placed here in line. Okay, so that was 12, we're on 13. So now we're on column number 13. Again, you're going to take 2 white bands to place on the top pegs. Grab those 2 that were doing nothing and move those across. Now for this, we're going to do 2 pair of blue. Oh, I'm sorry. 2 pair of white to start with. And then 2 pair of blue. Then a pair of white. 3 pair of red. There's our first pair, our second pair, and our third pair. A pair of white. If it's twisted, poke your hook around the inside of it. 2 pair of red. 1 pair of white, 3 pair of red, pair of white, oopsie, 2 pair of blue, 1 pair of white, then we're going to get another pair of white, 2 that are here doing nothing. You're going to put your 2 first on here and then move those 2 across. We're going to move our crossover bands over. Dig down, find the 2 top white bands and loop across. And then we find the 2 bottom ones. Oh, I got 1. Let's find that other one. Come here, sneaky. There we go. Remember, pull those crossover bands back with the back of your hook. and dig down here, grab those two and place across. One thing I should mention, if you guys don't have annotations turned on, it's a really good idea when you're doing looming to have annotations turned on. There's no way that we can get a message to you after the fact when we've made a tutorial unless we add an annotation. And if you have them turned off, you're going to miss them. So for example, with my Darth Vader, when I sneezed and miraculously after I edited out the sneeze, his arms appeared, and I had missed the bit. I'd edited out the bit where I added his arms. Well, I put an annotation to show you how to add his arms where the video was, a link that you could click and it would open up a new video to show you how to do his arms. In all the princess videos, I have an annotation with a link to show you how to make the princess skirts without the monster tail. It takes you to the video on how to make that skirt with your normal loom. But if you have your annotations turned off, you don't see any of that. So a lot of the questions that I'm getting asked are, can I do this on a single loom? Yes, absolutely you can. If you turn your annotations on, you'll see how very quickly without having to ask me. So it's a huge help. I think on your cell phones, your iPhones or your Droids and iPads, I think it's turned off automatically, but you can turn it on. And so I will be putting the URL. I will type it up and have it in the video of the URL so that you can get this actual pattern so that you can do it by yourself. So if you don't need to watch the whole video, that's fine. But if you do need a bit of hand holding, I'm doing this all the way to the end. So that was 13. We're now going to do column 14. Let's turn our loom upside down. It's terribly repetitive, isn't it? But when I first started doing these, my first few videos, I did double speed them, and people were screaming in indignation that it was awful. Please do videos in real time. They didn't want to speed through. So I started doing them in real time instead of doing them, in double speed. And now I'm getting people, firstly I get people saying I'm going too fast. Well, you've seen the video of how I am if I go slow. It's not pretty. But you have to remember, you can pause me, okay? It's up to you how fast I go. Alright, let's take this first column off. And move that forward, line it up to the bottom. And then take this second one off. Now this is not the only way to do a mural, as most of you are very familiar with. Crystal Letourneau, and I hope I said her last name correctly, Letourneau, has the most amazing videos out there showing you how to do them if you have the Nifty Knitter, I think it's called, or something like that. So, you might want to investigate. Let me move that down a bit. You might want to investigate that method if you have the means to get a nifty knitter. It's quite good. But this is if you're doing looms and you're not, the other way of doing it is to actually split your loom in half, where you've got column 1 and 3, but you take column 2 out. Okay, so grab those 2 bands that are doing nothing. I'm sorry, we're a very noisy household today because the little one is not well. You've probably heard her clearing her throat numerous times. A pair of white. She has a horrible sinus infection yet again. I'm about ready to rip her sinuses out with my bare hands. A pair of blue. A pair of white. Now we're doing 3 pair of red. Two pair of white, two pair of red, 2 pair of white, three pair of red, a pair of white, a pair of blue, a pair of white, get another pair of white, place those on this peg here and move those ones across. So now we're going to pull the crossover bands over. Now we're at 15. I'm telling you fibs. We're not going to pull the crossover bands over. What we're going to do is get some new crossover bands. Because the next one, actually, let me think. This was 14. We'll stretch it over one more, and then that will be stretched between 4, because we've got to go to 18. So if we stretch it over one more, that's stretched between 4, and then we'll stretch the next one across 4 instead of 5 to get to 18. So that's best. So stretch these across. And now we can start looping. Take the top 2 white ones and stretch it across to the right, and then we loop it up. Dig down, grab those 2 white and stretch across. Make sure everything is pushed down. And then let's take this off the loom. Well, this column off the loom, not the entire thing. Alright, so that's clear, as you can see. So what we're going to do now, turn our loop over again, and let's take the small one, move it forward, the middle one, move it forward. Now that one's always tricky because there's nothing holding it together. That was the only thing that was keeping it together then. So let's hold it securely. Okay. So let's take this column off and keep it in line, and then take the next column and put that one in line as well. Gosh, if you can, I know I'll put that one too close. Let's move up a bit. There we go. There we are. Okay, so now 2 white in your hand. Get these 2 ones that were doing nothing ready. So put the 2 there and then move those across. Now we're on column 15. We're going to do a pair of white, another pair of white, 3 pair of red, a pair of white, a pair of blue, pair of white, 2 pair of red, a pair of white, pair of blue, pair of white, 3 pair of red, and then 2 pair of white. Take another pair of white, and you're going to hold these ones at the bottom here, place your white, and then put those ones on top. Now this is where we're going to use the new set of, and our last set I should mention, of crossover bands. So let's get these blue ones out of the way. Get some clear ones. You're just going to spread a single one between the middle peg and the right side peg. Two more. There we go. So back down to the bottom, dig down, find those 2 top white bands and loop them across to the side. Find the 2 bottom bands and we'll loop up. Again, we've got the double crossovers. You have to push past both of those clear bands to find those coloured bands at the bottom. And you're just looping up the 2 bottom bands. Oopsie, come back here, no runaways today. And then we go down here, grab those bottom 2 and loop up. Push everything down. I cannot stress how important that is. And let's take this column off our loom. I'm glad that we're nearly at the end. It does take some time, doesn't it? But it's very nice and satisfying to see something actually being made. There we go. Okay, so all of those are clear. We're going to turn our loom upside down again. That was 15. We're now on 16. I'm ticking that off my little chart. Okay, I'm going to take the top one off and move it forward. I'm still holding this tightly as I move those forward. moving it forward. Moving it forward. This one's going to come away completely. Okay. Turn your loom over. Let's place our pegs. Again, always making sure that you have them facing the same way. It would be a travesty to have one turned around the wrong way by mistake. Okay, let's lay the bands for our next column. Take the 2 bands that are sitting here doing nothing, put them on your hook. Okay, there we go. You're putting 2 here for column 17. Place your white bands on top. Now we lay the bands. We start with 2 white. Then we're using 3 pair of red, a pair of white, 2 pair of blue, pair of white, 2 pair of red, and a pair of white, 2 blue, a pair of white. Let's move to red. 3 pair, and then our final white, and take 2 more white, grab these 2, place your white on the peg and move those white over, and let's drag our crossover bands across. And we're ready to loop the middle column up. Just moving the bands out of the way so I don't throw them everywhere. Dig down, find those 2 top white ones and loop those to the right, and then we find these 2 bottom ones and loop up. Dig down, grab those 2 and move across, and then push everything down. Take these off. Okay, I'm still making sure that everything is pushed down. everything is gone from there. So we're going to turn over. Only a few more times to do this. Move forward. Taking this column off and placing it here. I'm going to put this one on first. I'm going to realign this. As you can see, the split is here and it's holding only 4 here but more here, so I'm going to just split it more evenly if I can. It's a bit difficult too, I think. And of course I put it in exactly the same place. So that was 16. We're on 17. I'm sure that was 16. Yes, it was. 17. 2 bands in the hand. Grab these little white ones that are sitting here doing nothing. And put our last ones here, and then our white ones on top. So we're starting with a pair of white and then moving into 2 pair of red, pair of white, and 3 blue, pair of white, 2 red, pair of white, 3 blue, pair of white, 2 red, and a pair of white, 1 more pair of white. I'm going to grab those 2, put our last pair here and move those across. Drag the crossover bands over. And down to the bottom here, dig down and find those 2 top white bands, loop across, loop up. Push everything down. Oh, that one's trying to escape. There we go. Alright, let's take this column off. Make sure this one stays on there. Okay, we are on our last column, 18, and it is all white. Let's take this out, move it forward, take the middle one out, move it forward. Hold this so securely, because that's every time it falls apart, it's because I'm not holding the middle securely. Move it forward, turn over. Let's take this column off and move it forward, and then this column off and move it forward. This is our last column. We do not need an extra 2 to put on here. We're just moving this across, and then we are doing white all the way down. So I have to admit, I'm really not sure what you would do with something like this. I don't know if I would ever want to, if it's something huge, like some of the beautiful murals that you see. Okay, now this video is living proof of how difficult it is to record when my family is around me. As we have this video in about 95 parts, and I have to edit all the little "Mummy, Mummy," and all the ding dong you're hearing. That's my door letting me know that somebody's come in, and as you can tell, there's been quite a few. Alright, let's put that over there. Drag our crossover bands for the last time. Yay! Over. And let's loop these last 2 columns up. So dig down, find those 2 white bands and loop up. So as I was saying before we got interrupted, I'm not quite sure what one would use these for. The huge ones, I can appreciate that you would frame them and use them, you know, as pictures, because they're just exquisite. All I can think of for this size one is to put my teapot on. So yeah, I don't know. A trivet to put a pan on, I suppose, something hot to stop it burning a table. I can see all my American followers gagging at the moment, the fact that I've talked about a teapot and that we have hot tea and we add milk to it and sugar. We don't do this whole lemon iced tea stuff. Well, I suppose we do, but not quite to the extent. Okay, dig down. This is getting to the end. You'll be sick and tired of my voice. At least I'm not singing. My little one says, "Mommy, please don't sing. You're making my ears bleed." dig down. We're tying this off, so make sure you push your hook through all of these bands here. Grab the 2 white bands that you're going to tie off with, pull them up, back through that band there, through that peg there, and reclaim. Take the 2 closest to you up, over and off, and pull tight into a slip knot. And we are ready to take this off the loom. Let's see how we do, shall we? If I have a broken band, I think I'm going to cry. I like to take things off this way because I like them to be against the smooth rounded side, versus if you pull it up this way, you're getting stuff caught in these little open parts of the peg. So I always go from top to bottom. Get rid of our monster loom and let's stretch things out. Oh my gosh, look at that. Would you have a look? Yay! Perfect size for my little teapot, or for a drink mat, a coaster. All we're going to do, poke our hook through here, grab those 2 bands and pull them through, and we're just going to hide them. Okay, grab, because it's tied in a slip knot, they're not going to go anywhere, and if they do, you can catch them. There we go, hide them in there, and there we have the Union Jack. I hope you enjoy making it and have a lovely cup of tea with me. See ya, bye bye.